Okay, in this video, I'll be going over the week 6 discussion. I'll just be doing the part 1, which is exercise 5.31 in the textbook, which is called Palindromes. A palindrome is a sequence of characters that reads the same backward as forward. Write an app that reads in a 5-digit integer and determines whether it's a palindrome. If the number is not 5 digits long, display an error message and allow the user to enter a new value. So to hint, use the remainder and division operators to pick off the number's digits one at a time from right to left. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to do is open up our Visual Studio, and we're going to create a console app in C#. And I'm just going to put a little note here at the top that this is from our discussion. From week 6, which is exercise 5.31. All right, and then we're going to start it just like we always do with our using directive, and we're going to use the same system, and we're going to have a class, so we'll declare a class. I'm going to call mine palindrome checker, since that's what the assignment is to check if it's a palindrome. And of course, our opening and closing curly braces. Okay, and then within that class, we're still going to have a main method. And this is, again, not taking any parameters or arguments. Okay. Now within the main method, what we're going to do first is we're going to declare a variable to store the user input as an integer. But this variable will not have any value yet. So let's declare a variable, let's call it number. Let's call it number, or you can call it whatever you want, but this will be what stores the actual number that we're using, that the user input. It will have the value of the user input. So you can put input, whatever you like. I'm going to give it the name of number. And we're going to store it as an integer, so we're going to have it with the type of integer. So with type integer. And again, the variable will have no value yet. So we'll do this by simply typing the keyword for the type of integer, and then I'm going to call my number, and I'm not going to assign any value yet. So that's how we do that. So now this variable will be able to hold, it'll be able to store the user input, but right now it has no value yet. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to declare a variable with the type of Boolean. So, or Boolean, sorry, Boolean. So it's B. Okay, so we're going to declare a variable with type Boolean. Okay, type Boolean. And we'll initialize it as false. So what we're doing is we're gonna declare a value. My goodness. Okay, we're going to declare a variable with the value of false. We're going to initialize it with the value of false. So it'll be a true false variable, which is called Boolean, which is in the textbook is, if you look on 5.5. And you can see the type of Boolean Boolean. Okay. The bool is the keyword for the type Boolean variables, and they can hold values of true or false. And that's what we want, is we want to say, if this is true, then do this. If it's false, then do that. So we're going to declare a variable with type Boolean, with type Boolean, and initialize it or start it as false to indicate that the input is not yet a valid 5-digit integer. Oops. Okay, and then I will say the initialize as false means that we're assigning it okay, so that means that we're assigning it the starting value of false. So to begin with, this will be not true because we have not yet the value is not yet a 5-digit integer. Okay, so how we do this is by using the type bool for Boolean, and we'll name it is valid number, because that's what we're checking, right? If it's valid number, and we're going to initiate it or assign it the starting value of false. So the value right now is equal to false. Okay, and then what we're going to do next is we are going to create a loop that basically says, as long as the variable is valid number is not true, then do this. Oh my gosh. Is not true. Then do this. Okay, so we're going to do this by creating a do while loop, which if you look on section 5.4 and go down to 5.4.3, you can see where they talk about these looping statements or looping conditions, and we're going to create a do while loop, which they don't really talk too much about in this chapter. They talk a little bit more in section 5.8 about the while statement. So it says, while this is true, then do this. So we're doing do while, so we're going to say do this while this is not, well, this is false, is what we're going to say. So we're going to start a do while loop. So create a do while loop. Okay, we're going to start our do while loop with the keyword of do. We're going to say do, and then opening closing curly braces. We're going to say do this, do all this that we're going to put in between it, while, and what are we going to say? We're going to say while the is a valid number. So we're going to say do this while the is valid number variable is equal to false. Or we can say is not true. right? So we're going to say while, and then in parentheses, we're going to say while this is true. So we're going to say while is valid number, and we're going to say well it is not true. So we put the exclamation mark there, and that means that if this is not, that means this is not. So this is not. It means this is not true. If it's not true, it's going to loop back to the top of the do this while this is not true. So to me, I think of a while as long as. So as long as the variable is valid number is not true, all right, so we're going to have to, within this do loop, we're going to have to give a value for the is valid number to be true. So is valid number meaning, is it 5 digits? As long as is valid number, or this is what we're going to say, it doesn't, or I'll just leave it like that, but we're going to say the is valid number up here, it says to indicate that the value is not yet a 5-digit integer. So as long as it's not, as long as it is not equal to a 5-digit integer. Right, that's essentially what this is saying. It's saying as long as, or while, as long as is how I think of it. So we're really saying while it is not equal to a 5-digit number. As long as it is not equal to a 5-digit number, then we're going to keep doing this. And if we do this and it's not equal to a 5-digit integer, we're going to do it again. We're going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until it is true. If it is true, then we're going to do something else. But as long as it is not true, we're going to keep doing this. So what are we going to do? Well, first, we are going to get the 5-digit integer from the user, right? So we're going to prompt user to enter a 5-digit integer. And we're going to do this by console.writeLine. And we're going to say something like enter a 5-digit integer. And semicolon. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to be able to use, or to read, right? We want to be able to read the user input. But not just read it, we want to be able to read it as an integer, just like we did on the last assignment. So we will be using parse again. And remember that is so that it can convert the user input into an integer. To convert the user input into an integer. And then we're going to say, so it's going to convert the user input into an integer and store it in the variable. And we want to store it in the variable number. We're going to give that the value of the user input here. So we're going to do a console.readLine, but we're going to assign that value to the variable that we've called number. So we're going to say number variable. We're going to assign it the value of, and this is where we use the int.parse to parse it. And then we're going to give it the value of the parsed number that the user is inputting. So we're doing the console.readLine. So we're parsing the read line because we're parsing the information that it's getting from the user. And we're assigning it to the variable that we've called number. All right, now we're going to say, now we're able to read the user input and we're reading it as a whole number, as an integer. And now we're going to say if, so what we want to do in the exercise is, all right, we are going to write an app that reads a 5-digit integer, which is what we just did, and determines whether it's a palindrome. If the number is not 5 digits long, display an error message and allow the user to enter a new value. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say, we're going to have to give a true value to the isValid number. So how do we know if the isValid number is 5 digits, right? So what we're going to do is create a true value for the variable isValid number that is equal to a 5-digit number, or integer more specifically. Okay, and if we remember from the last exercise, how do we know if the input is 5 digits long? Well, we know that because we know that in order to get just 5 digits, it has to be between, so it has to be greater than. So in order to get a value that is 5 digits, we will, the number must be greater than 10,000. And that is because this, in order to have 5 digits, you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 digits. This digit here in the 10,000s place cannot be less than 1. If it's 0, it won't read a digit at all. And it'll be 4 digits or 3 digits or 2 digits. It will not be 5 digits. So we know it has to be greater than 10,000 in order for it to be 5 digits. And we know that it has to be less than, if all of the digits are 9, have a value of 9. So 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, because we know if it is 5 digits, we have to have 5 digits, and each digit cannot have a greater number than 9. There is no greater number than 9 for a single digit. So we know that the number must be greater than 10,000 and less than 99,999. Okay? So, and if you should remember this from the last assignment that we did. So we're going to write that as isValid number. And we're going to assign it the value of number that's greater than 10,000 and less than 99,999. And we'll do a semicolon at the end. Oops, and number. Sorry. So we're going to, is valid number is if the number, so the input, remember the number is what we assigned the value of the user input as an integer. And now we're saying if that value from the user input is greater than 10,000 and that value from the user input is less than 99,000, then we'll know that it is 5 digits. All right, and the next thing is we're going to say, let's see. So in the exercise it says, if the number is not 5 digits long, display an error message. So we'll work on that part now. So if the number is not 5 digits long, if the input is not a valid 5-digit number, and more specifically integer, okay, if it's not, then we will display error message, right? Okay, so how do we say if the input is not a valid 5-digit integer? So we will say if, we'll use the keyword if for an if statement. If, and then what do we want to be? So if the is valid number is not true, right? So remember, if it's not true, we're going to add an exclamation point. Okay, so an exclamation point. When you enter an exclamation point before a true false, so a Boolean, it's saying if this is not true. So the exclamation point means this, if this is not true, if this value is not true. Okay, so if it is not a 5-digit integer, what do we want to do? We want to display an error message, right? So we know that will be a console.write line. And we're going to display an error message in it. So we will say something like, we'll give it a new line and maybe a tab so that it will be entered on a new line and kind of shifted over a little bit so it looks a little bit better. So you don't have to do that. I'm just doing that so it's a little bit easier to read. And I'm going to say error, invalid input. Please enter a valid 5-digit integer. Okay. And then because so actually I'm gonna also, well, no, okay. So because we have this on a do while loop, what will happen is it'll say error invalid input, please enter a valid 5-digit number. And then remember, because we said while it is not valid, so if it's still not valid, we're going to display this and then repeat the loop. Okay, so let's go ahead and check it right now. Okay, enter a 5-digit integer, and I'll write 1, 2, 3, and then it says invalid input, please enter a valid 5-digit integer. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a line after this error message. I'm going to add a blank line. So I'm just going to do a console.write line and just keep it blank because I don't need anything written in there. I just want a space between. So if I go ahead and run this again, and it's not a valid 5-digit integer, then it says error, invalid input, please enter a valid 5-digit integer. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, and you definitely don't have to do this, just for easier readability, I'm going to do a line. I'm going to create a line here so that you can see where the loop starts over. So we're going to add to this loop. Let's see, actually, where do I want to? I don't know if I want it before or after the empty line, but let's just try it after first. So I'm going to do console.writeLine, but within the write line, I'm going to do a tab. Oops. I'm going to do the double quotation marks first, and then a tab, and then I'm going to do the same amount of characters as up here. So ERROR colon space INVALID space INPUT exclamation mark space okay. I think that's about the same length. If it's not, we'll see. So this is what it looks like now. We're going to run it again with that dashed line. And again, I'm going to enter a not valid input. Okay, so I actually don't want the tab there because I do want it to go all the way from the beginning all the way to here. So we'll add 1, 2, 3, and then however many we think this is there. So we'll add, we're going to take away the tab though, and we'll add some lines. All right, let's see if we run it again. All right, so I think I'm going to actually switch this around. I'm going to put the line right under here. I'm going to add maybe just one more dash. And then I'm going to add the blank space under this line instead. So I'm going to add 1 dash, and then I'm going to delete this and instead add it after. We'll get rid of this here. All right, so now it should look a lot better. Let's go ahead and run it again. And again, you don't have to do this. This is just, for me, it's like, it's easier readability so you can see where the loop starts again. So here's the loop starting. Enter a 5-digit integer, and this is not 5 digits, so it said invalid input. Please enter a valid 5-digit integer. So enter a 5-digit integer. Let's try for 5 digits. And of course, it does nothing yet because we didn't tell it to do anything yet. But it did not give so it got out of the loop, but it also closed the program because we didn't tell it to do anything else yet. So everything looks good so far. Now we have to say, what do we want it to do if, let's see. So let's just do this because I forgot to do it earlier. This is the end of our main method. So we want to stay still within our main method, but after the while loop, after the do while loop. And we're going to make an if statement that says, oops, let's give some space. If it is true that the value of number, so this is saying, we already know now that if it is 5 digits and it's being read as a number, then we want to know if it is true that the value of number is a palindrome, or that can be read, it's the same forward and backwards. if it's true that the value of number is a palindrome, we are going to take a method. So we're going to have to create a method and pass the number variable as an argument. So in order to create a method, right now we're in the main method. So in order to create a method, we're going to have to go outside of the main method. And so we're going to now, let's give it a little space again. We are going to create the method here. Create a method to check if the number is a palindrome. Meaning if it can be read the same forward as it can backward, right? So we are going to create a method the same way we do the main method. So it will be a static. So we're going to create a static method. Okay, to check if the number is a palindrome, and we are going to, let's see, so it will, static method that takes the parameter. So okay, that takes the variable number as a parameter. And returns a Boolean value or true, false. Okay, so we are going to check if the number is a palindrome by creating a static method. Okay, so we're going to check if the number is a palindrome by creating a static method that takes the variable number as a parameter and returns the Boolean value, which is the value of true or false. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do that a lot like the main method, so we know that it is static and it is not void. Instead, it is bool for Boolean, and it's going to be called is palindrome, is what I'm going to name it, and it's going to take the my goodness. It's going to take the variable number as a parameter. My goodness. So inside where we normally have empty for the main method, inside here we are going to be taking a parameter of the variable number. but we're going to use the keyword of int because we're going to make sure that the value for number is read as an integer. So this is our method here, is palindrome, and we're using the parameter of number being read as an integer, and we're giving it a value of true or false. Okay, and because it's a method, we're going to have opening and closing curly braces, and we're going to say end is palindrome method. Okay, so anything in between here is going to be part of the is palindrome method. So in order to figure out is this a palindrome or not, we have to create another variable, or declare, I guess. Declare a variable with, again, it'll have the type of integer, and we're going to use this to store the original number for comparison later. So we're going to declare a variable by with type integer. So we're going to type int, and then we'll call the variable, because we're going to use this to store the original number. So we're going to go ahead, or I'm going to call it original number. This should not be capitalized. And give it the value of number. So right now it's assigned the value of number. So declare a variable with type int for integer, and we're going to use this to store the original number from the variable number for comparison later. Okay, and then we're going to declare another variable that we'll call reverse number to store the values of the reverse number. So we'll say declare a variable with type int, just like before, and we'll use this to store the value of the reverse number. And we're going to do this by initializing it, or starting it with the value of, so we're going to initialize with the value of 0. And we're starting it with the value of 0 so that we can figure out how to get the last number of this original number here as the first number of the reverse number. So right now we don't have that number yet. So we're starting with 0 because we do not yet have the number for that. All right, so we are going to use int, and we'll call this reverse number, and we're going to assign it the value of 0. Let's say, instead of start it with, let's say, assign it the starting value of 0. I don't know, maybe that makes more sense because we're assigning it that value. All right, so then we're going to say as long as the number is greater than 0. So that way this will prevent it from doing the following. So we're going to say as long as the number is greater than 0, then do this. Okay, so remember, as long as, I think of as long as, but it's really while. While the number is greater than 0, then do this. So we're going to start a while loop. We're going to say while, and we're going to say number is greater than 0. Then do this. Just so we're end while loop. Okay. So we're going to say while the number is greater than 0, then do this. As in, they're saying, okay, so the reason is as long as the number is greater than 0, that means if there's a value. So if we've already checked if there's 5 digits. So if there are 5 digits and there's value in the user input, then we're going to try to reverse the numbers, right? So then we'll reverse the number, or the original number, I guess, by extracting the digits, right? So we're going to extract the digits in order to get the reverse number. And we're going to do that by extract the last digit first, okay? The last digit of the number, and we're going to do this by getting the remainder of the number divided by 10. Now, because we've declared a variable reverse number with the type of integer, so it'll be read as a number, and we assigned it the value of 0, we are going to now give that reverse number a value that's not 0. So we're going to get the value of reverse number by well, actually, so actually first we're going to have to, okay, so extract the last digit of the number. So we're going to do this by saying remainder of number divided by 10. But in order to do this, we have to declare a variable to hold or to store the value of the digits. Actually, of not the digits, but the last digit. And we're going to get that last digit by getting the remainder of the number divided by 10. So it will look like We'll give it the type of int, and we'll call it digit. And then we'll assign it the value of number, and then with the percent sign for the remainder of number divided by 10. So, for example, if the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are going to divide that by 10, which is 1, 2, 3, 4.5. And so we're going to get the remainder of that, which is, remainder is 5. So that's how we're going to get that digit. Okay, I guess we'll put it over. Okay, so we're going to reverse the number by extracting the digits. So first, in order to get that last digit, we're going to get the remainder of that, the number, the original number, divided by 10. We're going to use that remainder, which is 5, and that will be our last digit. That's the value of the last digit. Okay, now we're going to declare a variable, and we'll call it reverse number. Because it's actually already been declared and initialized with a value of 0. Now we're going to give it a value. So we're going to declare a variable of reverse number to store the number in reverse. So how we're going to do that is we're going to add the value of digit to the end of the reverse number. Add the digit to the end of the reverse number. Okay, so we can do that by assigning it the value of and what we're going to do is assign it the value of the reverse number itself times 10 plus the value of digit. Because then, so like in this example, the digit is 5. So if we took the reversed number, which right now has the value of 0, and multiplied that by 10, so it's still 0, and then we added that digit to the end of it, the digit is 5. So right now our reversed number would have the value of 5. And if we did that again, we would get the remainder of 4, and we'd have the reverse number is 5 times 10, so that'd be 50, plus 4 is 54, so then it would say 5, 4. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Alright, so we're going to declare a variable called reverse number. So reversed number, which we have already declared up here. So we're going to get that I guess we're not going to declare a variable. We're going to call the variable, right? Call the variable reverse number to store the original. Okay, so now we're calling the variable reverse number, and we're going to assign it the value of reverse number times 10, and then we're going to add on the end of that plus digit. So we're adding the digit on the end of that. So we're multiplying the reverse number times 10, so we get an extra 0 at the end of the number that we have here. And then we're going to turn that 0 now into the new digit that we have. So again, if it was already a 5 for the reverse number, that's what we got the first time. So now we turn that 5 into a 50, and then we add the new digit, which would then be 4. Because the remainder of 123.4 is 4. So it would be 50, and then plus 4 would be 54. So now the reverse number would be equal to 54. So I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little bit easier when you see the whole thing being done, but all right. So now what we're going to do is, in order to get this new number, so instead of digit equals the remainder of the number, we're going to have to remove that last number that we just got, this 5. We're going to remove it from the digits, if that makes sense. So we'll remove the last digit from the original number or number. We're going to remove the last digit from the value of number, okay? And we're going to do this by dividing the value of number by 10 so that it reads only the whole number. So it reads only the whole number as the value of number. As the new value of number. So this is giving number a different value. So instead of going back up here to get the digit, and it's still the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, instead we're going to drop that, what is now 1, 2, 3, 4.5, we're going to drop that 5 off of there. So when it comes back up here, it will say digit is 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4.5, it'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we're dividing it by 10 each time, so that it takes that, the value will be 1, 2, 3, 4.5, but it's only going to read the whole number as 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we do that through 4, and the digit becomes 123.45, and so we're going to divide by 10, so then the digit will be 123. So all right, let's finish setting this up, and we'll kind of see how it works. All right, so let's do an example of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the new value of number is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you run it again, it'll be the number. So this digit is getting the remainder from the number divided by 10, and then it's getting the remainder as that digit. And then it's adding that digit to the reverse number. What we're doing down here by dividing number by 10 is that it will only read the whole number. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the new number will be 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the next time it's divided by 10, it will be 1, 2, 3.4. So it will read the number as 1, 2, 3. And then the next time it'll be 1, 2.34. So it'll read the number as 1, 2. And it'll continue doing it until the number is, it'll keep doing that as long as the number is greater than 0. If the number becomes 0, or there is no number there, then it will stop doing it. So, divide the last digit from number. We're simply going to call the number, and we're going to say divided by. So this is the same thing using this assignment operator. You can check in the chapter, and I think it might be in chapter 4 even, but if you say number divided by equal 10 is the same thing as saying the number divided by 10 equal, like number, okay, assigning a new, okay, so you could write it like this, assigning a new value to number. So number is equal to, so you're assigning it a new value. Number divided by 10. So this is saying the same thing. The number is equal to the number divided by 10. Number divided by 10. Number is equal to the number divided by 10. Okay. Okay, so how we're finding, how we're getting the number in reverse is by taking the original number, and we're going to get a digit to put on the reverse number. So we're going to get this digit here by taking the number, dividing it by 10, and getting that remainder. And that remainder is going to go on the end of the reverse number times 10. So first it will be 5, and then it's going to say this part is doing number divided by 10, so it's getting rid of the last number because so now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divided by 10 becomes 1, 2, 3, 4.5, and so now the number is reading it as an integer, so it will only read the whole number here. So then we do it again, and it's reading number here as 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the remainder of 1, 2, 3, 4 divided by 10 is 4. And then the reverse number now will be 5 times 10, which is 50, plus the digit, which is 4. So now it'll be 54. Okay, and then we do it again, and we do this number divided by 10, and remember our number now is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 divided by 10 is 1, 2, 3.4, and because this is reading it as an integer, what the new number is reading is 1, 2, 3. So we go up here again, and we're going to get the digit by number divided by 10, so it's 1, 2, 3 divided by 10 is 12.3. The remainder of that is 3. So now we're going to take the reverse number, which is 54, and multiply by 10, so now it's 540, and then we're going to add that digit of 3. So now it's 543. And we'll do the same again. So again, it's 1, 2, 3, but we're going to divide it by 10. So it's 12.3. It's only reading the number as an integer. So up here it's going to read 12. 12 divided by 10 is 1.2, the remainder being 2. So we know the reverse number is 543 times 10 is 5430. And we're going to add that digit of 2. So 5432 is what the reverse number is now. And then one more time, we're going to do 12 divided by 10 is 1.2. So we're going to do that up here. It's only reading the number 1. 1 divided by 10. Is this right? Okay, yes. 1 divided by 10 is 0.1. So the remainder would be 1. So we're going to do the reverse number here, 5432 times 10. So 54320. And then we're going to add the 1 that we just got from the remainder. So 54321. And then now, because it says as long as the number is greater than 0, well, now the number is 0. So now it's not going to read it anymore. It's done with the loop. All right, so I hope that makes sense when you kind of see it, how it all works together like that. All right, now since we're done with that, the while loop. So it's done with the loop now. So since we're done with that, what we're going to do is we are going to check if the original number is equal to the reverse number. Well, actually, yeah, we're going to check if the original number is equal to the and we're going to do this by return original number is equal to the reverse number. Right, okay. So back up here in our main method, we said enter a 5-digit integer and read it as an integer. Read it as an integer. And then check that it is 5 digits long. If it's not, return an error message and say, and give the user the option to input a new 5-digit number. And then we want to say, within our main method, we want to say so far we said if it's not a valid number. So what do we want it to do if it is a valid number? So right here, if it is true that the value of number is a palindrome. So how do we know that? It's by calling our method. All right, so what we want to say is if, so this is where we're using nested if-else statements, which is in 5.6 of the textbook, and it just shows the if-else statement, and then if you continue to go down, it'll show nested if-else statements. So far we've said do this, And if the number's not valid, do this. And continue to do that. And then it says, but if, so we're using if again, right? So if, and we're going to say is palindrome, and we're going to take in the parameter of number. So we're saying if the value of number is true for the, if the is palindrome method is true for the value of number, we're going to say if that's true, then do this. With the I think it's parameter, I might be wrong though, of number. So we'll say we're going to call the is palindrome method with the parameter of number, and we're going to make sure this is true. So we're not going to put we're not going to say if this is not true. We're saying if this is true, because remember this is a Boolean statement, I guess, or type. This is the type of Boolean. So if it's Boolean, that means true or false. So it's saying if is palindrome is true with the given value of number, then do this. And what we're going to do is say if it's true, then we're going to say and then we're going to display a message saying it is a palindrome. So we know how to display a message already is console.writeLine. And we're going to say, yes, this number is a palindrome. Okay? And then we'll say else. So we're saying if it's true, we're going to display to the console, yes, this number is a palindrome. Else, or if it's not, okay, don't know why that was weird. Else, we're going to display a message saying it is not a palindrome. And we know that will be a console.writeLine. And we'll say no, this number is not a palindrome. And then we'll have we already did that. We have that method down there. Okay. So now after the else statement, we are going to do one last thing, which is a console.readLine, which will keep the app from closing and displaying stuff that you don't want. So let's add another console.writeLine on both of these. This is optional, obviously. And I'm just going to say, let me give it a couple lines, empty lines, to kind of keep it separate. And I'm just going to say, in parentheses, press enter to exit, kind of ironic, the program. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. So, So whether it is or isn't a palindrome, it's going to display yes or no, and then it will have a couple lines of blank space, and then it will say press enter to exit the program. And this console.read line means it will not exit the program until enter is pressed. So will not exit. So it'll exit the program after user presses enter. All right. So another thing that we could do. So let's actually just go ahead and test this first. Let's make sure we have everything right. So first, enter a 5-digit integer. Sorry, that's not 5 digits. So it says the error message, invalid input. Please enter a valid 5-digit integer. And then this time I will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 digits. And it says, no, this number is not a palindrome. So let's actually give this, let's put this on let's give this a line in between. Let's do that for both. So yes and no, we're going to give it a new line so that there's space in between. Okay, let's press enter and we'll run it again. We already know that if you don't enter enough, it gives the error message. If you enter the right amount of digits, it does say, no, this is not a palindrome. And then it says press enter to exit the program. And I actually forgot, I want this at the end because I want it to be in parentheses. So right now I left that parenthesis out, but I want this press enter to exit the program to be in parentheses. And I actually am going to move this over a little bit. I'm going to give it a tab so this kind of stands out. It'll give you your answer kind of separate. So when it says yes or no, I'm going to actually give it a tab. Just so you can see it a little bit better. All right, and then the other thing we can do is there 2 spaces here? No. Okay, this number, and then what we could do is we can do what we learned in chapter 4, and that is give it a give this string the value of the number, the original number. So we're going to make this string now an interpolated string. So we're going to add the value of number I don't know why that's let's see if that works. So let's run this again. And I did this on yes, so let's do a number that is a palindrome. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. It says yes, this number is a palindrome. So what I want to do is actually, so I forgot. So interpolated, oh my goodness, an interpolated string means that before the parentheses, we have to add the $sign. And that's how it knows this string is interpolated. And we'll do the same for here. We'll add the $sign, and then we'll add this number, and then we're going to give the actual value of number is not a palindrome. So now let's go ahead and run the program again. So right now it says this number, and I did it wrong, is a palindrome. We're going to exit that, and then we're going to run it again. And whether it is or isn't, it's going to say, no, this number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is not a palindrome. Okay, and we'll exit it, and we'll try it again. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. Yes, this number, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, is a palindrome. Okay, so everything looks good. Everything is right out of the book. A little bit of it was from previous weeks. Obviously, you can do whatever you want to make it look however you want in here. So you can have a different error message. You can display it however you think it should be displayed. You can do the error message like in a box, however you think it should be displayed. You can do it different for the no or the yes, however you want it to look. But yeah, this is how we do exercise 5.31 according to the book. There's lots of ways to do it. I definitely think you should do it your own way. Try to sorry. Try to add your own formatting and things like that. You can definitely find other ways to do the loops. But yeah, this is how you do this. How you do this exercise from what we've learned so far in the book. All right, so last thing, go to File and Save All, and then you're done. That's it. That's how you do exercise 5.31.